Right, it's time to start sorting out the carbs now. I'm not going to go too far with these, to be honest, because they look pretty clean, and I've just gone through the service history for the bike, and they were cleaned by the dealership, I think early last year or late last year, I can't remember now, but they were cleaned last year, and just looking at them, they do look actually pretty clean. So we'll take the caps off, take the float balls off, we'll have a look. But what I have noticed is on the other side of here is they are leaking. So the seal's probably gone old and perished. So what I've bought is the small little seal kit, and in there you get a float needle, which is good because the modern ethanol in petrol eats away at the tips. So if this has never been changed, that's a good thing to do. So I've got all the little seals. We probably won't use a lot of them. The main thing I wanted really is the float needle and that float ball gasket. I think there's a few seals in there as well for the idle screw. So we'll do them, and we'll get these carbs back on the bike and start it up. Right, let's get on with it. So as you can see in there, everything's pretty clean. What I will do is give the main jets, pilot jets, a good blowing through, just to make sure there's nothing in there at all. But it's all pretty good, to be honest. Someone else has done a good job. So it's mainly just a case of changing the float ball gaskets, which, as you can see here, they're pretty old, flat, and they've probably gone a bit hard as well, so there's not making much of a seal there. So I'll be changing them, and we'll take out these floats, and then we'll measure the fuel level on them as well, make sure it's actually spot on. Right, so now I've got all the carb back together. I've got all the seals in. I've got the float needles in. Everything's back together there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some fuel in these. I'm going to put them in this vise here. And I'm going to check the fuel levels. Right, so I've got the carb set up in the vise. And I've got them levelled off. The next thing to do now is to check this fuel levels. Now what I've done is I set up a dummy tank over there, and that's coming in to the inlet of the carbs, and I've got this clear pipe coming through the bottom of the float bowl, and that's going to give me my float height. So I'm aiming at just below that Makuni mark there. Right, unfortunately I had a problem with the memory card on my camera, and it's not recorded some of the video. So I carried on while it was supposed to be recording. Obviously we've missed that part out now. But I got the carbs back together, and I was doing a video of me putting them back in. But like I say, unfortunately there's something wrong with the memory card, so I've swapped the memory card now for a different one. And I'm hoping this one keeps on going. So as you can see there, I've put the carbs back in, which is an absolute nightmare, by the way. Getting the throttle cables rigged up underneath all this on back up through, that took a bit of doing because they're quite short. There's not a lot of room there to move around in either. Everything else went pretty straightforward actually. They're all nipped up quite nicely now with the clamps. All the pipe works in. And as you can see, that's all back together there. So it's quite intricate, it's really difficult to get in on the bottom. But we've done it, it's there. And the next step now is to get the airbox back on. And we'll pipe it all back up. Right, so the airbox is back on now, as you can see. It's all nicely fitted down there. I actually changed the screws on the Jubilees, because they were a bit worn. I got them here. Yeah, they're a little bit worn, so I changed them out. And I put some stainless Allen key bolts in there, and that's done the trick. It's lovely. It's nice and tight there now, not like it was before and it just slipped off. Yeah, so we've got that on. It's nicely in place. Next thing to work on really is the fuel tank. I've got to get the tap off it, check all the seals. Once that's done, we can get that back on the bike and fire her up.